Welcome to the Young Crone's Cafe, where you can get a magic brew full of all sorts of information, both witchy and practical.
Grab a cup of coffee and join us. I'm Elizabeth, a wordsmith.
And I'm Dave, a modern-day sage.
We are going to talk about various witchcraft and life topics from a slightly more mature perspective, at least most of the time.
Thanks for joining us. On the Path, which is the name for our personal witchcraft practices, we have spent a great deal of time discussing what we believe and why. These conversations led to the writing of a book full of information about our tradition. We call these beliefs metaphysical kernels of thought because they are the start of much, much bigger ideas. We thought we would share some of these with you. So,
today's metaphysical kernel of thought is other types of moons. A blue moon has several different definitions, including 4 moons in a 3-month seasonal cycle. But the Path uses the one where a second full moon occurs in the same calendar month. This officially occurs about every 2.7 years. This astrological event occurs because our calendar runs on a cycle of 12 months in a solar year, but there are 13 lunar cycles in a moon calendar year. We believe this is the most auspicious time to work magic for things that may take much longer to manifest, often until the next blue moon occurs. A corresponding phenomenon is a black moon, which occurs when there is a second dark night of the moon in the same calendar month. Others use the period in the same month when a blue moon happens. It usually happens about every 32 months. We believe a black moon's energy is a magnification of incubating new ideas or gaining perspectives, so what occurs can be life-altering. There are 2 other lunar occurrences that can work to change how the energy of the moon manifests. They are supermoons and lunar eclipses. A supermoon occurs when a full moon coincides with the moon's perigee, or the point in its orbit when it is closest to the Earth. The moon's size appears much larger in the night sky, so on the Path we feel that the energy of that particular moon is intensified to manifest something we need more immediately. We determine which astrological sign the moon is in during that particular time and use it for a type of magic that relates. Lunar eclipses occur when the Earth's shadow blocks the sun's light, which normally reflects off the moon's surface. There are actually 3 types of eclipses that can occur, which include total, when all sunlight is blocked, partial, where it looks like something took a bite out of the moon, and penumbral, which most people don't even notice when it happens. A penumbral eclipse happens 2 to 4 times per year and creates an appearance of dark shading on the moon from the Earth's shadow. Working magic during an eclipse allows you to pull the powers of a dark moon into a full moon working for a short time. We believe it allows you to access the power of incubation while making magic for something important. Okay, today we're going to wrap up our discussion, for want of a better word, at least for now, about moons and the Path tradition. And we're bringing in other kinds of moons. Other kinds, I think the best way to describe it is those that don't occur on a monthly basis as part of the regular lunar cycle.
Absolutely. And hello, Elizabeth. It's great to see you again.
Good afternoon, Dave. Great to see you too. But when you think about it, you got blue moons and black moons and supermoons and apparently micromoons, which we missed a little bit along the way, and eclipses. And
well, my understanding of the whole topic and the reason that you and Susie included this at the discussion of at the end of the discussion of the moons is because, and naturally so, we are so attuned, or we make an effort and we get used to being attuned to what I would call the local or the this month lunar cycle. Mm-hmm. So all of our, or at least the vast majority of our thoughts around the lunar cycle happen to be this month-long thing. And here a couple weeks ago, we were talking about how I had come to the realization that there weren't just 4 moon days in each month that I could be doing magic, mm-hmm. but even those in-between days were in a sort of a micro times of. So the times of waxing or the times of waning. So I got into the habit now of, instead of waiting for new first quarter, dark moon or whatever, instead of waiting for those events, I can do my magic any day I want and acknowledge where I am in this local or monthly moon cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the point where we're starting to talk about the fact that just like everything else in the path, there are cycles within cycles and there is balance involved. And so today we're talking about moon cycles or lunar cycles that are longer than our lunar month.
Yes, the traditional 29 and a half days that people think of when you say lunar cycle to somebody.
Right.
And I like the idea of your waxing and waning. And even if you think about it, waxing and waning are another kind of balance. And you can always flip the focus of your magic. If you're doing magic and you want to draw money to you and it's a waxing moon, yeah, draw money to you. If it's a waning moon, how about banishing a lack of money?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Saying goodbye to some debt. Paying that last couple of dollars on some bills so that you know that you have closure somewhere. Sure.
Exactly.
That, like we're always working on, that's a way to apply our magical thoughts and behaviors in a mundane context.
Exactly. So let's think about it. That blue moon, wasn't there a song too about blue moons? But that's the same.
There's songs about blue moons and there's sayings, once in a blue moon.
Mm-hmm.
What? Okay, so for those folks that are listening that might have just kind of discovered some of this stuff, what's a blue moon?
Okay, well, there's been a number, when you really start looking into it, which of course the researcher in us did, it's got several different quote-unquote definitions. All right, the official, I think the Farmer's Almanac definition is if you got 4 moons in a 3-month season of the year, it's officially a blue moon in their eyes. We kind of use one where if you got 2 in the same calendar month, guess what? You got a blue moon. It's the full moon.
That's the one that I think is probably more traditionally common.
It has become more so in the last few years as we've gotten away from being an agricultural society more and more, I think. And it happens, give or take, about every 2.5 years. And then you can run into a spate of them too, which I find interesting. It's not like you get one every 2.5 years. Every 2.5 years, you can have several in a row for some unknown reason every once in a while. So there's all sorts of debate about that, but I don't think that matters. The reason it shows up is we got 12 months in a solar year and 13 months in a lunar. So there's bound to be some overlap.
Well, and mathematics will explain why there are times when there's a string of blue moons together. And I believe that's all around the difference between our axial tilt and the moon's orbital tilt as compared to the sun's orbit. If that makes any sense, yeah.
It does. I mean, we didn't really care. We just thought it was cool.
Right.
Sometimes
hey, it's a blue moon. It's a special thing that doesn't happen very often, or now we've learned happens, every 2.5 roughly years.
Mm-hmm.
So what's a good thing for me to work on as far as like magical on a 2.5 year time frame or time schedule? What kinds of magic can I do?
Okay, we think of it in terms of manifesting a long range goal of some sort. Obviously,
okay.
Take a while to happen. The energy, I don't know, you want to get the down payment for a house and it's going to take you a while to save up that money. Kind of.
Okay, yep.
Big.
I can see that.
Or a long range goal of I want to go back to school to study X within this time frame and getting my ducks in a row to start that sort of thing. Or developing more patience and tolerance for something in the long run. Something that doesn't happen overnight or say within a lunar cycle, which is where if you're working magic within the lunar cycle, you don't usually plan for something that's going to happen way down the road when you do full moon magic.
Right. You're kind of in that monthly frame of mind. But while you were describing that, another thing that I thought about is recently I put my focus, and it's been over probably the last 1.5 years or so, but I've been putting a lot of focus on diet and exercise and sleep for myself. And during the last year and a half, I have lost about 50 pounds. So it's reasonable that would be another example. If someone had a blue moon and they wanted to do like a special dedication a la New Year's resolution, they could begin, a health-based plan or a meditation-based plan or something like that, and then look back at it in 2.5 years and see, okay, how much magic did we work here?
Yeah, exactly. Or dedicating yourself to some sort of personal practice.
Absolutely.
Want to add, and then on the flip side of that, because like you said, the path is all about balance. And we're like, all right, there's blue moons. What happens when there's got to be something that relates when there's 2 dark moons? Because if there's 2 blue moons in a month, 2 dark moons have to show up at some point in a calendar. Just because
this is very true. Yeah, math makes that happen.
Yeah, and we went looking, and there's what they call a black moon.
So a black moon is a period of dark nights of the moon that happens twice in a calendar month.
Exactly. And it actually happens about every 32 months, so it's a little closer to 3 years than 2.5. That is
okay.
Okay. And we think it's a magnification of those kind of receptive, incubating type energies. So
sure. I mean, it's an extra blanket or an extra veil. You're dark on top of dark.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to kind of something you really need to think about for a long time, or a way to incubate an idea that you might want to do later in life, kind of thing, down the road.
Sure, but definitely a time of powerful contemplation.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of an extra boost of energy. I think both the blue moon and the black moon are an extra boost of projective and receptive energies in that respect.
Well, I must confess to the fact that I've always observed blue moons, and the idea of a black moon is obvious and right there in front of me and had never occurred to me. So I'm sort of looking forward for the next time that we get that opportunity to celebrate a double dark. Yeah, that'll be neat.
Yeah, see, this is the neat part of this stuff is I think one of the reasons we went looking at these other moons is part of being on the path is always looking for reasons to celebrate magic and all of that fun natural stuff that pagans are supposed to worship in that sense.
I just want to scratch out the word reasons in that sentence and put the word opportunities.
Yeah, okay. That either or.
Yeah.
When you have as busy a mundane life as I have, I'm always looking not for opportunities, but for reasons to get out of the house that I can say, we have ritual because it's a blue moon.
Sure. And it's interesting you say that, because from my point of view, and it's probably just a background, but
yeah,
I always had to be convinced of a reason to go to church.
Okay.
In my life now, I'm always looking for an opportunity for magic.
Yeah.
So I think that's just part of the maturation of my own life as I started to learn more and more about the human being that I am.
I think so. I think that's cool. And then once you get through blue and black moons, which are phenomenon from the moon, is a good way maybe to describe it.
But here again, they give us a longer context, a couple years sort of a span, and
yeah,
I'm really going to sort of latch onto this and take advantage of it in my own practice, because you're right. Seeing a change in some things over the course of a month, you don't really see, sort of like not seeing your friend's children for a couple of years and my God, how they've grown. Well, yeah, you noticed that over a longer span. You don't notice it if you're seeing them every other day.
No, yeah, exactly. It's the same sort of thing. And as a culture, we are very much right now. It has to be fixed right now. And some things require, for want of a better word, long-term commitment and planning to fix.
Yeah. There are